Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Reckon Product Suite and STP webinar. We'd like to especially welcome all our partners who joined us in today's session. So my name's Andrea Suarez, and I'll basically be taking you through the presentation today. We'll also have Rav later on who will be joining us for questions and answers. So basically today I'll go through everything with single touch payroll using Reckon One, Reckon Accounts Hosted, and Reckon Accounts Desktop. Just a quick disclaimer before we start. So the contents of this webinar is of a general nature and guidance only. So here at Reckon, we don't provide any professional or taxation advice. Viewers may need to consult with a professional advisor for advice on their specific circumstances. And just a few housekeeping before I get started. So you'll notice that your microphone is currently muted, whereas mine's not because I'll be the one presenting. However, if you do need to ask a question, please feel free to go to the website slido.com and enter in the event code STP. So that website is slido.com and enter in the event code STP. What will happen is I'll answer all the questions at the end. So when you're in slido.com and you've entered in the event code STP, you can type in your question and then send. You'll also be able to see all the other questions that the attendees have asked, and then you can hit the like button if your question is similar. It's pretty much just like a voting for questions to be answered. Okay, so you can also minimize the webinar panel as well. So if you need to see the full screen of your of the webinar, you can minimize the webinar panel. And just to note, we will have a recording of this webinar on our Reckon YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Reckon Ltd. But what we'll do for you today is we'll email you a link of the webinar recording within a day from now. So just so you have something for your reference. So just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to go through today. So I'll go through how to sign up to Reckon GovConnect and setting up your MFA, which is your multi-factor authentication. Also go through some key information you need to prepare within your company file if you're using Reckon Accounts or your book if you're using Reckon One. I'll also show you how to share your Reckon GovConnect with other users, how to register your software ID to the ATO, and we'll also go through some frequently asked questions because now we've held these sessions quite a few times in the last few months as well as last year. We've actually put together some frequently asked questions so that everyone's aware of what to do. And then lastly, I'll go through some single touch payroll resources just for your reference at the end of the webinar so that you can have something to refer to or for your clients to refer to if they need help with single touch payroll. For those who just joined us again, if you need to ask a question, the website is slido.com and enter in the event code STP to ask any questions. Okay, so just some key points for you to be ready for single touch payroll, which is just around the corner. So I guess the first tip is ensuring that you sign up to Reckon GovConnect STP. And if you're using Reckon Accounts Hosted or Reckon Accounts Desktop, we do recommend that you upgrade to the latest version. So we do have the 2019 version released from today. So if you haven't upgraded, you should definitely do so already. You also need to register your software ID to the ATO. And then just learning how to export the STP file from Reckon software and uploading it to GovConnect. So these are just the 4 key points that we want you to take away in terms of setting up for STP. So just ensuring that you sign up to Reckon GovConnect, upgraded your Reckon account software if you haven't done so already, also registering your software ID to the ATO, and then just learning the process on how to export your STP file from Reckon software and uploading it to GovConnect. So as you may know by now, STP is now for all businesses with employees. So last year they've released it to all businesses, or sorry, made it mandatory for all businesses with 20 or more employees. And now this year it's for everyone with 1 or more employees. So by 1st of July this year, it is mandatory for all businesses. So let's get started on what is Reckon GovConnect STP. So Reckon GovConnect STP, it's a platform that we created for you to manage all your payroll information from the Reckon software, and that it'll lodge directly to the ATO. So you basically use GovConnect to submit all your payroll information from the Reckon software, so that it will have all the information you need on STP, so that you'll be able to lodge it directly to the ATO. So just to give a visual picture on how GovConnect works, so you can see that it acts as a gateway between all the products that have payroll. So with Reckon One, Reckon Accounts, and Reckon Accounts Hosted, as well as Payroll Premier, you basically send that information off to Reckon GovConnect, and then GovConnect will respond directly to the ATO, and the ATO will communicate back on Reckon GovConnect to just confirm the status of your submissions. So it will show whether it's been successful or whether you need to make any amendments with your pay runs. So just a little more information on Reckon GovConnect. So it's free to use for everyone. You will need a Reckon portal account. So to sign up to the Reckon portal account, it's for free. So you can go to the website portal.reckon.com. Otherwise, if you go to our Reckon homepage, you can also access the Reckon portal that way as well. And as I mentioned, it's its own individual product, and it opens independently. So if you are a partner and you're managing multiple clients with multiple products, it's just an easier way to manage all your clients' STPs. Okay, so just an overall picture of how the Reckon STP process works. So the first step is creating a GovConnect STP account. Then what you need to do is enable and configure for STP in your company file or book. This is just checking all the information, and if you're using Reckon accounts, you may need to switch on the STP functionality. Then what you need to do is complete the pay run and export the STP file. And then lastly, you just review and submit in GovConnect to the ATO. So just to, I will go through it in a more detailed information of each step, but just to let you know the overall picture. So the first 2 steps is just setting yourself up for STP. Once you have that all set up, moving forward, all you need to do is just basically complete the pay run as you need to, export the file, and then it's just reviewing and submitting that STP file in GovConnect to the ATO. So this is just an overall process so that you can understand the full picture of how the Reckon STP process works. So let's go into the first step in more detail. So the first step you need to do is create a GovConnect STP account, as well as set up your MFA, which is your multi-factor authentication. So to access Reckon GovConnect, as I mentioned earlier, you'll need to sign up to the Reckon portal. That website is portal.reckon.com. Otherwise, if you go to our Reckon homepage, you'll be able to sign in to Reckon GovConnect. So whether you're using Reckon One or Reckon Accounts, hosted or desktop, or Payroll Premier, you will need to sign up to the portal. So the reason why we've created the portal is Oh, well, first of all, it is for free, but what you can do is you can actually add multiple users so that they can manage the STP as well, or manage, Reckon One as well. So I guess, yeah, if you just need to sign up to the Reckon portal or need your staff to sign up to the Reckon portal, they can do so. So if you're a new user, basically there's a few ways you can sign up to the Reckon portal. So we have what we call the single sign-on process, and how that works is you can actually sign in with Google. So if you use a Gmail account, or you can sign in with Office 365. So if you're using Outlook or Microsoft, you can use either account. If you don't have Gmail or Outlook, what you can do is if you click on register for free, you can basically fill in out your full details, and then put in a nominated email address and create a password. So what will happen is it'll send you a verification link to your nominated email address, and then you just set up the account from that way. If you have Reckon One or Reckon Cloud POS, you can actually just use your existing user details if you have that already. Okay, so once you've logged into the Reckon portal, you'll notice that I'm currently on the Reckon portal dashboard. So this is how you access Reckon Gov Connect. So you can access Reckon Gov Connect by going on the left-hand side of the menu and clicking on Reckon Gov Connect. If you need to add multiple entities, if you're managing multiple entities for STP, on the top right, you can add more Reckon Gov Connect STP entities. Okay, so the first step, what happens is when you first log on to Reckon Gov Connect, it actually prompts you to set up your MFA, which is your multi-factor authentication. So just a bit more information on multi-factor authentication. So the ATO has actually made this a mandatory requirement with any software provider, because we are dealing with sensitive data of people's pay information and so forth, and we are dealing with the ATO. So you may be familiar with MFA if you use like something like online banking or MyGov. So it's basically just an extra step to verify that you are the user submitting GovConnect STP. Sorry, STP, not GovConnect. So just a little bit more information as well. So MFA should be at a user level. We don't recommend that you're sharing your MFA code. So if you need other staff members to manage STP, they can basically sign up to the Reckon portal and then set up their own MFA. So I guess the whole reason behind that is, just say for example you're away, or another staff member is unable to do it. You can log in using your own Reckon portal, and then you can also set up your own MFA. And just a bit more information on MFA. So you won't be able to use MFA on both PC and smartphone because it's either one or the other. And then if you are using MFA on the app on your smartphone, just ensure that you don't delete the app until you have revoked it on the Reckon portal. So these are the three options that you have for MFA. So we currently have the SMS text feature, which is our most popular option. Otherwise, you can download the Google Authenticator app on your phone. So whether you use iPhone, Android, or Google. Otherwise, if you don't want to use your phone, you can download the Authenticator as a Chrome extension. So if you want to use it on your computer or laptop, you can download the Authenticator Chrome extension and then download. So that can be another form of MFA. So I'll go through each one in more detail. So the first one we'll do is setting up MFA via SMS, which is the most popular way to do it. What will happen is it'll actually prompt you to enter in your mobile number. You get them to send the code, and then you enter in that 6-digit code that you receive on your mobile phone. If you don't want to use the SMS text feature, you can see that on the bottom here, it says I actually want to use Google Authenticator instead. So if you are using Google Authenticator on your smartphone, you can download the Google Authenticator app. So whether it's App Store or Google Play, and then once you've launched that app, you scan this QR code and it'll generate a 6-digit code for you on your app. So say, for example, this is my mobile phone, and then you enter in that 6-digit code just to verify that you are entering in that code. Lastly, there's using MFA, which is through Google Chrome. So if you don't want to use your mobile phone at all, what you can do is you can install a Chrome extension called Authenticator. I know we have a link right here, but if you Google Chrome Web Store and you search for Authenticator, you should be able to download the Chrome extension. So just one thing to note here is if you are using the PC option, you won't be able to use it both on your PC and your mobile as well. So it's choosing one or the other. So when you have downloaded the Authenticator as a Chrome extension, it'll be on the top right of your browser. And what you need to do is you need to click on the QR code symbol. And then when you're prompted to set up your MFA, you scan the QR code. Sorry, you click on the app extension of the QR code and then highlight the QR code that's on the Reckon portal, and then it'll generate a 6-digit code for you, and then you enter it in. So just to, I guess, summarize as to what we went through. So you can actually enable MFA using one of these 3 options. So whether you use SMS, Google Authenticator on your smartphone, or Google Authenticator using a Chrome extension, just so that all the data is safe when you're doing STP. So once you have that all set up, what will happen is when you log back into the Reckon portal, it'll automatically generate that 6-digit code. So you don't need to go through that whole setup process again. It's just going through it once to set it up, and then it will generate that 6-digit code for you every time you log in. Okay, so now that we have MFA enabled, the Reckon portal will prompt you to enter in a recovery PIN. So the whole purpose of a recovery PIN is if something happens to your MFA device, so whether you lose your phone or your laptop, or you want to change the way MFA works. So say, for example, I don't want to use the SMS text feature, but I want to use the Google Authenticator app. You can use the recovery PIN just to verify that you are changing or revoking the access of your current MFA. So there's 2 ways. You can actually generate a recovery PIN, and the Reckon portal will generate a 6-digit PIN for you. Otherwise, if you prefer to create your own recovery PIN, you can select the other option of creating your own recovery PIN. So as I've said, once that recovery PIN is set up, moving forward, you'll just be entering that 6-digit code that is sent to your phone, or whether it's sent on the Chrome extension. Okay, so now that we've got MFA enabled, what we need to do now is set up our GovConnect. So when we're on the Reckon portal, click on Get Started. And then what you need to do is you need to enter in your ABN. If your company has a GST branch number, you can put in a branch number. That's only if you do have a branch number. Otherwise, just leave it blank. And what will happen is it'll generate the legal company name as to what's on the ABN register. So once you've completed entering in your ABN, you submit, and then it'll bring up the GovConnect portal. So once you're in this stage, you you select which product you're using for STP. So say, for example, you're using Rec Accounts Hosted, you select Rec Accounts Hosted, save your settings, and now GovConnect STP is set up. So now that we have GovConnect STP set up, what we need to do is now register the software ID. So the reason we need to register the software ID, it's a very important step. So you're basically communicating to the ATO to say that you're using Reckon software to submit STP. So generally what happens is if you miss this step, the ATO will come back with a status saying that it's been rejected or something like that because they haven't recognized that you're using Reckon software to submit STP. So to find your software ID, we now have updated the GovConnect STP portal. So it'll be right underneath where the company name is. Otherwise, you can find it in the company and advisor information as well. So when you're on GovConnect STP, you can click on company and advisor information, and then you can find your software ID that way. So there's two ways you can register your software ID. You can call the ATO on 1300-852-232. Otherwise, you can register it online by visiting the ATO Access Manager. And lastly, on the GovConnect portal, especially as a Reckon partner, you can add yourself as an advisor, or otherwise your clients can do this as well. So underneath the company and advisor information, you click on Add Advisor, put in your details or give this details to your customer. So put in your VABN, agent number, and so forth, and submit. And then it will recognize that you are the registered agent doing STP for your client. So once you've submitted to the ATO, it'll confirm that you are the advisor submitting the STP information on behalf of your clients, and then you confirm. So what you can do is within Reckon portal, you can share your STP entity with other staff, or your clients can share this with you. So the steps to share your STP entity, you click on the ellipses, which is the three dots, select Share with User, and then you enter in the email address that you're wanting to share with, or your clients enter in your email address, and then click Save. Once it's saved, it will successfully share with the other user. And then on the other end, if people have shared their STP entities with you, there's a tab called Shared with Me, so that you can see all the shared STP entities with you. If you need to remove a user from STP, you go through the same process. So you need to click on the little ellipses and click on Share with User, and it'll bring up the Manage Sharing screen, and you can see View Current Shares, and then you basically click on the little bin icon next to the user you want to remove from STP. Okay, so now that we've gone through the first step, which is creating a GovConnect STP account, the next step is going through enabling and configuring for STP in your company file or your Reckon One book. So let's go through Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop. So with Reckon Accounts Hosted and Desktop, it's quite a similar process in terms of checking, enabling the STP functionality as well as just checking the correct information. So the first step is just ensuring that you enable the STP functionality. So when you go to edit the preferences, underneath the payroll and employees menu, if you go to the company preferences tab, you'll be able to see that you can enable single touch payroll and then click OK. So just ensure that you enable your STP functionality before you can process the STP report. Other things to check before you submit STP. So I'll go through that. I'll go through what information you need to check. So you basically need to check company information as well as the employee's information. So when you're checking the company information, it's just ensuring that you have the correct legal information. So ensuring that the legal name matches with what's on the ABN register. And then for employees, it's just checking that you have all the correct information for your employees. So what you need to do is you need to check under the personal information tab. You can put in the email address, but it's not mandatory to put in. And then when you change tabs to employment information, when you're under the employee information, under employment details, just ensure that you've allocated an employee number, sorry, for that employee. It's also just checking that you've also adjusted the allowances tax tracking type as well. So the ATO has made it mandatory for allowances to be differentiated. So if you're using an older version from last year, it's just ensuring that you've got the correct allowances type. So for Reckon 1, it's actually quite similar where you need to check the legal name. So when you're in the settings area, within the book settings, just ensure that you've got the correct legal name and it matches with what's on the ABN register, which is the same ABN that you use to register for GovConnect. You also need to check the employee details. So just ensuring that you've got the correct details for the employee. Sorry. Just one thing to note as well, under the employment tab, that's where you'll be able to generate an employment number for employee number next to that employee as well. Okay, so where we're at within the Reckon STP process, so we've created the GovConnect STP account, and we've also enabled and configured for STP in our company file, as well as the Reckon 1 book. So now that we've had that all set up, it's now just completing the pay run and exporting that STP file. So what I'll do first is go through Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop. So to process and export your STP file, what you need to do is you need to go to Employees and then select Process Single Touch Payroll. And it'll bring up the Single Touch Payroll lodgement screen. You can select the employees that are meant to be included. Generally, what happens is when you select the pay run, it will include all the employees that are included within that pay run. It also shows their employment number, and then you hit lodge. So just to explain while I'm on this screen, so you'll notice that there's different types of functionality. So you can notice that within the STP lodgement screen, we also have full file replacement, update event, and final pay event. So what that basically means is with each option, a full file replacement is, if there's errors within the, too many errors within the paid data, or there's just corrupt data within the file, you can put in a full file replacement and submit it to the ATO if you've previously submitted an STP file. An update event is if you need to correct any of the information within the pay runs you've already submitted to the ATO. So say, for example, you needed to correct an employee's pay, you can submit an update event if you've already submitted STP previously. And then lastly, we've got finalize year. So this has been the latest update or in the release of Reckon accounts. So it will include all employees that have been paid within that financial year. And it also indicates to the ATO that this is the final pay for the year. With terminated employees, what happens is when you've done the termination payment within Reckon accounts, it actually automatically marks it as a final pay event for the employee. There's no need to run a separate submission when you're doing STP. And then when you're in GovConnect, when you check the employee's details, it'll show that it's marked as a final pay event. Okay, so when you, what happens is when you're going from the STP lodgement screen and you select lodge, what happens is it'll export as a JSON file. So that JSON file contains all the payroll data, which you need to upload within Reckon GovConnect. So with hosted, what happens is the JSON file is saved to the Q drive. And then if you're using desktop, it basically saves directly on your PC. So it's just ensuring that you save it to somewhere that you remember for STP, because what happens is you'll need to upload that JSON file within Reckon GovConnect. So for Reckon 1, it's actually quite an easy process. So with Reckon 1, everything's online. So when you're doing STP, it's a direct connectivity for Reckon 1, and you can actually review in Reckon GovConnect before submitting. So when you're submitting STP within Reckon 1, if you've subscribed to our payroll module, you need to go to the payroll menu and then select single touch payroll. And then it's just easy as reviewing the information. And then on the top right, you can send to GovConnect STP. So all that information will directly be sent to GovConnect STP, and it'll prompt you to launch that GovConnect STP as well. Okay, so now that we've created the GovConnect STP account, we've enabled and configured for STP in our company file or Reckon 1 book. And then what we just went through was completing the pay run and exporting the STP file. So the final step of the STP process is reviewing all the information in GovConnect STP and then submitting it to the ATO. So once you've launched GovConnect STP, what you need to do for Reckon accounts is upload that JSON file that you've saved. So on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there's an upload button. You basically upload the file. You select the report type first, so whether it's a new pay run or full file replacement, or if you're updating a previously completed ATO submission. Then you select the JSON file that you want to upload, so whichever pay run that you want to submit. And then it'll generate that pay run within Reckon GovConnect. So what's good about Reckon GovConnect, you can actually drill down into further detail before you submit. So you'll notice that on the right-hand side, there's a detailed column. So you can drill down into further detail of the pay run, as well as each individual employee. So when you're within the pay run, it actually gives a list of all the employees included within that pay run. It also gives the total gross, the total PYG, and how many employees included. And by clicking on data within, next to the individual employee, it'll bring up the details of the employee's pay. So once you're happy with the details of that STP file, you can see that there's a submit all button. So you can submit and send it directly to the ATO. It'll confirm a digital signature. So you type in the signature, just to confirm that you are submitting the payroll report. And then now it's successfully sent to the ATO. So you see on the top here, it'll just say success. There's also in the middle here, it will say ATO status pending. So what that means is you're basically waiting on the ATO to give you a response, which can take up to 3 business days. But what you need to do is you need to log back into Rec and Gov Connect to check on the status of the ATO. So for Reckon 1, it's actually quite simple in terms of submitting STP. So as I've mentioned earlier, it's all online. So we'll say it's ready to submit. You can drill down into further detail as well. And then you'll see that on the right-hand side, you can just submit the information because it's all online. Lastly, what we'll go through is the end of financial year process. So basically, you need to indicate to the ATO that it will be the final pay for the end of financial year. So for Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop, you can see that in the 2018 version of Reckon Accounts R2, so you can actually click on Final Pay Event. So you can only use Final Pay Event if your last pay had every employee in the last pay. Otherwise, if one employee isn't included in the pay, we do recommend that you upgrade to the 2019 version and then use our new functionality called Finalize Year. If you are using our latest version of the 2019 Reckon Accounts, R1, you basically, when you're in the single touch payroll lodgement screen, you have the option to finalize year, and it'll include all of your employees paid throughout that chosen financial year in the list. Just one thing to note as well with finalize year option or when you're doing STP in general, just ensure that you're not submitting both the EMP file and the STP for that same employee's data. So because what can happen is it will double up the entry to the ATO. To finalize the year for Reckon 1, so when you're in Reckon 1, the first step is when you're in the payroll menu, under single touch payroll, there's a single touch payroll option end of financial year. So you click on that. It'll bring up the list of the years that you've included. Obviously, there's none at this stage, so you click on add. And it'll prompt you to select the relevant financial year, and then you add single touch payroll report. Sorry, this screenshot's a little bit blurry, but it'll bring up all the employees included in that financial year. It'll also include the year-to-date gross figures and PYG amounts. And then what you need to do is you need to send to GovConnect STP so that you can lodge the end of financial year for Reckon 1. So what will happen is it'll prompt you to send to GovConnect STP, and then you review the information in GovConnect. Okay, so lastly, before we move on to questions, what I wanted to do is go through some frequently asked questions that we've come across throughout this STP, these STP sessions. So the first question is, if I go away on holiday, how do we submit STP? So there's 2 options that you can do. So the first step, sorry, not the first step, the first option is if you are going away, you can actually share your GovConnect STP with another staff member so that they can lodge it while you're away. Otherwise, if you don't have any other staff, you can actually submit pay events to the ATO in advance. Next question, can the STP file be uploaded on the ATO business portal? So the answer is no. This is actually a separate portal. So the ATO actually don't provide a portal to submit STP. The next question is, what is the time frame to submit STP reporting once after the pay run? So the answer to this question is you'll need to submit STP on or before the day of your employee expects to be paid. So i.e. when you complete the pay run. Next question, can you have more than one person accessing a single GovConnect STP account? So the answer is yes, you can, but you'll need to have a separate Reckon portal login due to MFA. Next question, what if I find a mistake in one employee's pay after I submitted STP? What you can do is you can go into the Reckon software, update that employee's pay, and then what you need to do is create and submit an update event to the ATO using GovConnect. And then the last question is, what if I need to change my MFA device? So for example, if I wanted to change from MFA from SMS to Google Authenticator app, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to revoke your current MFA access on the Reckon portal, which I'll quickly show you on the next screen. So when you're in the Reckon portal, you can go to Profile and then click Revoke. And then you can revoke that MFA using the recovery PIN that you've set up and submit. And then lastly, I'll just go through some common messages before we move on to questions. So an error message that may happen is may say when you're on Reckon GovConnect, failed to save pay run event data. So what that means is it may have been a corrupt JSON STP file due to invalid characters in the data. The next error message may say instance payroll event payroll detail. So what happens is when you're in Reckon GovConnect, you may have submitted the report type as a new pay run or full file replacement rather than as an update pay event. The next message that you may come across is unable to create subscription with STP. So what that basically means is another user may have already registered your ABN on Reckon GovConnect, or it may mean that your name on the Reckon portal is incomplete. So when you use the single sign-on process to sign up to the Reckon portal, it may mean that your name has been incomplete. So what you need to do is when you're on the Reckon portal, on the top right, when you click on your own profile, you basically need to edit your details and just ensure that you have your full name within the Reckon portal. The next message is pull request. So when you're in Reckon GovConnect, may say that the request ID is valid, but the pull request is yet to be queued. So what that means is the ATO is experiencing extended processing times. So you may need to check back later and the status would be updated. How to edit company information on Reckon GovConnect. So when you're on Reckon GovConnect and you're under the company advisor information, so to update the details of the company, which is highlighted in the red box, what you need to do is you need to go back to your product's company information screen and enter in the correct details and export the STP file again. So we do have a lot of FAQs and these error messages and solutions on our Reckon knowledge base. So if you go to kb.reckon.com.au and search for STP, you'll be able to see all the information there. So while we're on information, we do have a lot of STP resources. So we do have our Reckon Help Center, which is a step-by-step guide on how to do STP within all of our Reckon products. That website's help.reckon.com. We also have a single touch payroll page, a dedicated web page on our Reckon website. It includes all frequently asked questions as well as upcoming and recorded webinars. And you can also find a Reckon partner, which is you guys, which is partnersearch.reckon.com if you ever need help with accounting or bookkeeping. Also, just lastly, we will have a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ReckonLTD, just for your reference after this webinar. Okay, so now we'll go into the questions. I have Rav and Luke with me in the room to help. If you have questions in the meantime that you want to submit, you can go to slido.com and enter in the event code STP, and we'll try to answer your questions. Okay, so, there's none. Okay, there's no questions. All right, if you have any questions after watching this webinar, please feel free to email training@reckon.com, and we will answer the questions for you. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me in today's webinar. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you.